Hello, and welcome to September's class at the Hub in Warner Springs, California. I'm Nina Karavasilis. This is being recorded after the class has happened. Most of the topics will be relevant still, though. We'll be talking about Jerusalem artichokes, reading food date labels, dehydrating, fall planting schedules, and a special gift. The next two slides might serve as more historic documentation, as maybe you are seeing this into the future. So we are having a movie night, September 28th. We'll be having more of those though, so please keep an eye open for them. The community will most likely repeat some events, like the movies and Star Watch. Got a great video right there too, if you wanted to click on that and understand more about stars. A little bit, an introduction. Our main topic today is the Jerusalem artichoke. So there's a lot of confusion due to the range of names. So you see sunchoke, sun roots, I call them J-chokes. But this is neither from Jerusalem nor is it an artichoke. This is cool artwork, but it's not this either. So here we go. These are the plants you often see on the side of the road. Small sunflower daisy shaped, bright yellow, happy, and most often ignored. As cited in class, the word grisola might have been the root of the naming issue. If you loosen your mind a little, grisola could sound like Jerusalem a little. Since we had a word guy in class and an Italian speaker, we also learned that it had something to do with the ground. Ground indeed. These are tubers. They are harvested from the ground and not on top of the plant, say like a bean is, but more like a potato. The skin is kind of like ginger. Helianthe is Greek for sunflower, and it seems it really helps to know a few languages. Permaculture is any system of sustainable agriculture that renews natural resources and enriches local ecosystems. This is pretty easy to grow. Easy to grow, disease-free through heat and drought are actually code words for you will never get rid of this plant. So pause your excited optimism that there is something that will grow in our difficult climate. It is also hard to control and may take over your garden. So please consider containing it. I use a horse trough, or putting it in an open field area, if you have one, and you can share with gophers and still have some for yourself. J-chokes can be eaten raw, boiled, braised, fried, and even ground into flour. You gotta love adventurous chefs. I'm often asked, yes, but is it good to eat? This plant tastes a bit like a water chestnut, sometimes like a potato, but it's sweeter and nuttier. You recall our talking about the glycemic index from our last class as a way to measure sugar content. Well, that's kind of a super quick definition. This one is good and low. Thus, J-chokes are good for diabetics. Jerusalem artichokes have got potassium, iron, fiber, niacin. But the main thing to point out is inulin, which we're going to circle back to. You know, you can always pause and read fully, but the quick of this is plant before the last frost day, 150 days to harvest, Plant in full sun, and you can companion plant with corn, rhubarb, and peanuts, but not tomatoes. And there's also an established variety of this called Stampede. Late fall, early winter is when they begin to be ready. The leaves will die off. And carefully sort of tickle them out of the ground. They can be harvested when you want. So in fact, it's best to leave them in the ground. So say you have harvested enough for a week. Put them in a plastic bag with holes in the fridge. That's best. Don't wash them until you're ready to eat them. You have a root cellar? Then you can make a box and put sand or damp sawdust. That works pretty well. Put them in there. Store them with the humidity you would use for potatoes. Yes, you can freeze them, but it changes their texture. So freeze only if you're planning on making soup with them, so they don't lose their crunch. Pickling or fermenting is a great idea for J-chokes. So it's pretty amazing to think that you can simply leave them in the ground until you need them. It is also possible to, if you forget them, which I have done, then you will have them stacked on top of each other the next year, causing crowding. If you have them out in a field, then they will keep on going with the idea that you can't really get rid of them. Of course, you can get rid of them, but it's something to be aware of, that you need to manage how they're growing, because you probably want to have some for next year. So you just want to be cognizant of how you're storing. Okay. I've put some recipes in the links at the very end. You know, you just gotta love Julia Child. She nicknamed them the fartichoke. I just love those Jerusalem artichokes, but is there anything you can do about the flatulence? So it's all about the inulin, and while it is a great probiotic, it also, in some people, can create a lot of flatulence. And so the answer is to introduce them slowly into your diet. Don't jump in and buy or eat a bunch right away. I like that this wholesome food is being grown and you can buy it easily in the store. Sunchokes also have a cultural history. Native Americans used them for digestive issues. So as I mentioned, it's a good prebiotic. They seem to know this before we did. They shared J-chokes with European settlers, and that's kind of a kind thing to do. The food sovereignty movement. This is a great idea. While our local tribes weren't totally into J-chokes, there is evidence that it was eaten along with other things harvested below the ground, like yucca, agave, and onions. And this is just a happy fall photo, so I can change the subject. We often discuss zones, but we don't agree with the numbers, nor the organizations that keep changing those numbers. We do agree that we have a lot of microclimates, especially in Warner Springs. And this system sort of gets you into the ballpark. So number 9 is our ballpark. These are vegetables to plant in October. And I've written, get your seeds now. Get them in September or start looking. This is the time for catalogs and cookbooks. So start asking, what are your flavors for the future? These are the flowers to plant in October. They're not just a list of pretty flowers. They are pretty flowers, but they have a purpose. Lots of them healing purposes. A little help for the butterflies, too. Here are some definitions about expiration dates on canned and prepared foods. I became inspired to think about the old home economics classes that taught us how to rotate our pantry, meaning put the new cans in the back of the shelf and keep moving the older ones forward. So try your best to never throw food away because of lack of management. I'm not expecting you to remember this and the next two slides, so I'm including the source of the links at the last slide. I like that this company includes plant-based deli and tofu. So for instance here, you can keep tinned fish for up to 5 years. And then after 3 to 4 days, you got to get rid of it. I mean, it's in the fridge, right, for the 3 to 4 days. And if you have cans, look for bulges or contents that smell or look off. These are kind of common sense things, but it's good to have this sort of, chart for us. Look at this beauty. Next is the surprise gift that those of you at home will not be receiving. You can still participate though. We had gone on a field trip to the Fletcher house. Catherine gave us some of these bulbs. She's a historian and a landscape designer. Sometimes called belladonna, sometimes the naked lady. They are called that because they start off with green leaves. Those die off and then the stem shoots up and this crazy pink, strongly fragrant flower. And it has no surrounding leaves, thus naked lady. The belladonna is a great choice as a focal point in your landscape area. It grows in these tough climates, and they are bulbs. The point to stress, and make sure and pause and read these for more details, but belladonna is poisonous to dogs, cats, and humans, so please make sure and put them in the right location. This is my collected books so far. Stack of books, so I can change subjects. If you are watching before November 22nd, 2024, then you can participate by either donating a book or joining in for the sale and a cup of tea. If not, consider doing this on your own. In the class, we went outside to the bed that was overflowing with herbs. We picked. I showed my Kasori dehydrator. You know, any will do. But I don't like plastic, and this one is mostly metal and very basic. I'm not paid to say any of that. I had dried some herbs previously so students could take them home dried. Drying is a great method of preservation, and it can also be done low-tech, like without a dehydrator. I have sent this list to students. I usually collect things of interest for the list, hoping to make a database of them, and this is new to have them digitally connected instead of little slips of paper. I have no attribution for this cute photo. It was sent to me. AI for all I know. Go on now and grow your own foods. Thanks. It's Nina. Bye-bye.